We're really excited to bring this episode to you where we are joined by Lizzy Palmer, founder of the fitness app Sink In, which is transforming how women approach wellness by aligning workouts with the natural rhythms of their menstrual cycles. In this episode, we talk about the myths of misinformation that hold us back, the freedom that comes from personalized fitness, and the power of owning every phase of your body's journey. If you've ever struggled with listening to your own body's needs, this conversation is for you. So grab your headphones and get ready to be inspired. You're going to hear all about how to honor your body's rhythms. Hi there. Welcome to the Empowered and Embodied Show. I'm Kim Romaine.
And I'm Louise Neal. We're two transformational coaches who are also fellow travelers on the path of growth and self-discovery. And we're inviting you along for the ride.
That's right. We're right here in the trenches with you, navigating the ups and downs of life. And each week we'll be sharing our own experiences, bringing you conversations with amazing guests, and exploring insights and strategies that have helped us find more clarity, confidence, and ease in our lives.
And trust us, we do not have it all figured out. We're learning and growing right alongside you.
So if you're ready to rise above the chaos, doubt, and confusion that sometimes life throws our way,
and step into a more empowered and embodied version of yourself,
then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Kim Romaine, joined as always by my lovely co-host,
me, Louise Neal. And today our wonderful guest has joined us,
Lizzy Palmer. Hello.
Fantastic. Hey, Lizzy.
Lizzy, we're so excited that you're here. We're going to let the world know a little bit more about you in just a minute, but we want to start this week how we start every week. What are we celebrating? What are we celebrating today?
Kim, you make me find a celebration every week. But that's why we're here, because we can hop over those celebrations so easily and kind of forget the goodness that's going on. Today, I am celebrating my community. I'm just celebrating, like, I have this like tight little group of entrepreneurs who are doing amazing things in the world. And I get to connect with them weekly and support them and hear all about their businesses and how they can support me. And, you know, it just takes that loneliness out of what I'm going through in my business. And through that, I have made some really good friends. And I want to celebrate that. As an adult, it gets kind of hard to make friends. And so I'm celebrating my friends and making friends at the same time. So.
I feel like mine's actually pretty similar with it too. Is I've been doing a lot of networking events and getting to meet people, and there's kind of two things I'm grateful for with it. Is one, how amazing they've all been in person, but I guess I'm doing three actually, and then two, my ask that I'll do afterwards of reaching out and being intentional with it, and then how kind people are in response. It's been really wonderful to see and who I've gotten to connect with. And it's really inspiring in their generosity and their kind. And then I also showed up and was brave for it. So it's building a really cool circle that I'm really grateful for right now, that I'm like, oh, more awesome people. Yeah.
I love that.
Kind of connected. I'm grateful for the kindness of strangers. So there's been a lot of kind of back channel work that I've been doing, connecting into my former legal world, connecting into my former advocacy world, and really just living in Canada and being connected to a lot of what's happening down south.
there's a lot of back channels that I'm actually being able to fill. And I'm really grateful for the kindness of strangers through those back channels. People who don't know each other, people who don't know me, stepping up and being a part of, in different ways, being a part of solutions. And it is what continues to give me hope, and makes me really, really grateful every day, for the kindness of others, right? For that ask, for going in and saying what it is that we need, for being in a place to be receptive, and also to be brave and courageous and say, I don't maybe know what all is needed, but I know that something is needed. Let me help. How can I help? And how do I do that? So I'm grateful for the kindness of strangers.
Yeah. People are awesome, right? Like they really are.
They can be.
Yeah, sometimes.
People are awesome.
I do feel like
humanity is awesome.
I do feel like I've realized networking more recently in my entrepreneurial journey than I really did before. I thought it was just kind of like knowing people, but now it's, Kim, as you're mentioning, it's like getting to connect others. And it is actually just helping and getting to be of service of others. And, you know, I met two different gals yesterday at two different events, and I thought they should get to know each other. And so I just was able to make an intro, which then helps them out, but then helps me build my relationship with them. But it just was because I liked them both and thought they had some things in common. I was like, that's actually what networking is. And I was like, oh, I don't think I used it in that right way previously, or didn't fully get it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, as a former attorney, my idea of what networking was standing around a room that smelled like a locker room because everybody was in their suits and sweating, and it was gross. And like this competitive nature of I got to get my business card in as many hands as possible versus I met two really cool people. I want to introduce them.
Yeah.
And when I work with people who are reticent to get into networking, that's where I go to. I'm like, it's just about building relationships. It's just about connections and consciously connecting with individuals. So yeah, I agree. All right, Lizzy, let's let the world know a little bit more about you, shall we? So Lizzy Palmer, CEO and founder of Sink In. Sink In or Sink In?
Sink in.
Sink In.
Sink
All right.
in.
Is a fitness app aligned with the menstrual cycle and is on a mission to connect women with their bodies to transform workouts into self-care and a form of empowerment. Sinken offers personalized, comprehensive race training programs tailored to your cycle, helping women achieve their fitness goals while honoring their body's unique needs. Lizzy has been a dancer, a musical theater performer, yay, and a fitness instructor, and lives in New York City while integrating fitness into her life through activities like tennis, volleyball, and bouncing on her trampoline, one of my favorite activities personally. Lizzy, so much welcome to our program today. It is so good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be having conversations with both of you.
I'm super curious, Lizzy, because when you and I had talked previously, what really stood out for me was like that not that you just are designing an app, because that's like a whole like being a tech founder, but like the basis of having and helping women understand their bodies so that they can kind of really leverage that and lean into like what's going on. Like why that's like why
I feel like what I'm really excited by is there's so many levels to it. And first, we have to accept ourselves and understand our bodies. But the end goal is to celebrate it and to recognize these changes and to embrace them. So that's my end goal, but we can't get there without accepting ourselves and knowing what's even happening. And then we can start to use it, and then we can move in tune with it, and then we can start to celebrate it and really feel strong in our skin and how we move and how we just show up in the world then too.
So like those first words you said, accept our bodies, like that part in it, I think that's the hardest part of everything you just said.
I think it's really hard too. Yeah.
Yeah. How do we start to do that?
So starting at least, so we're working with menstruating ladies. We'll eventually go into more area, the whole life cycle of the females, but we're starting with menstruating ladies. So just starting with the basics, of what is menstruating, what goes on in the female body. So we almost kind of see it like scaffolding. We put up some scaffolding around you and provide you with those extra support so that then you know, and you have professional support to know what is actually happening, what is the scientific things that are happening. And then you're seeing it and you're seeing what's connecting with you. And you're like, yes, I am feeling that. Or maybe then you're not, but you then become stronger yourself. So then our goal is we release the scaffolding and you then are stronger that way. So we start with the information, the scientific information, and then also at the same time keep having you listen to yourself. So that's why it's called sink in, because it's sinking in tune with yourself, and keep having those moments to sink in, because if your journey is cyclical, it's going to keep changing then. And so we want to know where you are in this cyclical journey, but how are you going to notice where you are in the journey if you're not taking that time to sink in with it? And so those are our two aspects to help to build her up in those first steps, and the first month in particular, a lot of the extra education, because then once you know it, then you know it, and then it's not only education, but building that foundation.
Yeah, it's so interesting because here I am in my early 50s, and the things that you're talking about, it's like I'm kind of in that same space about like really discovering what's going on with my body as I'm changing and leaving that cyclical thing that happens. What's happening to me? How am I like I'm a different person now that my estrogen is dropping and all of those things. And I had no idea. Like, honestly, if you talked to me last year about like what's going on, I was like, my period is kind of ending maybe. I had no idea about all of those other things that happen in a cycle because I wasn't educated around my period and what that means. Because like we did not talk about anything like that growing up. Like there was a lot of like period shame and hiding, and you just didn't talk about it. I didn't even really talk about it to my mom, right? Like I got my info on the streets, right? and that was very little because we didn't talk about it. We hid it. And so what has it been like for you? And maybe it's completely different because maybe you didn't have this like kind of taboo space to come out of. But like what has that been like for you? And what are you seeing in the folks that you're working with around just the not the acceptance, but like the communication and how we're talking about our cycles?
There are so many light bulb moments of I had no clue. I had no clue that was happening. How have I never known that? It's like, correct. And so there's a lot of opening up for ladies, which is then awesome to be there for. And then a lot of follow-up questions. And this is where I'm not ready to get rid of personalization because everyone has a unique journey and a unique story. And they go, well, how does this relate to me? I'm on birth control right now. So what does this mean for me? I'm thinking about getting off birth control. So what is that going to be for that transition? I have endometriosis. So I'm not sure how this relates to me. So even with the starting of understanding, there still are so many more individual questions because there still is more to unpack and still things that have not been talked about. And luckily it's starting to be talked about more and ladies are starting to hear it and willing to open up. But as you're saying, and you mentioned the shame, there's ladies that been working with and they're looking back, they're in their early 30s now and are like, wait, I was 24, I was a dancer, technically in my prime in a way, I was doing well, but I would have days that I would feel exhausted and just totally done for and would be so harsh on herself, just so upset about it, being like, do I suck now? Am I now not capable of doing what I want to do? And thinking that she's the problem and absolutely just immediately internalizing it. And so this is the first time she's ever felt that this has been expressed and seen it in somebody else that's sharing it. And we're sharing with her now in her early 30s, but knowing like, no, there was nothing wrong with you at 24. You were just at a different phase and needed to take some extra care. And it does not mean that you're not capable of everything that you're capable of. And so a lot of the acceptance that we're feeling is releasing of that shame. And that's part of our main goals and hopes for ladies, is to feel that acceptance at every different stage and to not feel like they are the problem once they've understood what works for them, and that it's not them. It's never them.
When we talk about shame and releasing shame, right? Because that's so much of what gets in our way of even leaning into this place of empowerment. And we talk very often about empowerment is not something we give to somebody else. Empowerment is what comes from inside, right? And part of the reason why we named this show the Empowered and Embodied Show is because we want to reclaim empowered as is something that we embody. It is something that is ours. It's not something somebody gives to us or we give to somebody else. Mm-hmm. But shame is what clouds that so often. It gets in our way of being able to find our way forward back to ourselves in a way. By taking off some of the mystery, mm-hmm. right, around what is actually happening within our body. I mean, this is why femtech is so important, because it does give us tools that we haven't had to start to demystify what is happening for ourselves and to start to normalize in a very bespoke way, because as you said, we're all different, but normalize what is happening, that something is happening and that is okay. Mm-hmm. And it is not shameful to have a period. It is not shameful to go through perimenopause. It is not shameful to move into menopause. It is not like none of this is shameful. It is natural. And so tying that to also individuals who are physically active, runners, dancers, elite athletes, right? That I can also imagine comes with it a totally different package of this idea of shame, quote unquote shame, that we feel in our bodies when our bodies aren't doing what we want them to do. Do you notice that, just given your past and kind of maybe who the target audience is specifically for this app?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's where like, how can we accept ourselves? But then the shame is also coming in. And so grappling with it and also allowing that patience. And that's what's also pretty hard for people is we want that instant gratification and we want that change to happen immediately. And it's like, I don't want to be shameful anymore. Let's just snap it away. And it's like, okay, well, like we won't even notice a change in our bodies for 3 months. So this is where we need to see some consistency and really stick through some of these habits and these intentional changes you're wanting to make. And so part of it is really staying with them throughout the time, because everyone wants to make the change for the first couple days. Yes, let's go ahead. Let's change. I made this new recipe. I'm totally ready. Let's go do this new class. I'm now going to sign up 4 times a week for it. Okay. And it's like, okay, that's amazing and love that inspiration. And then also like, let's see you through it. And I really feel like the road to health is wider than what we think. We have it be so narrow and we have to achieve exactly this and do these steps every single day. Otherwise we're totally done. But honestly, our bodies are trying to support us every day without us even trying. It's always going to try to keep healing us. Sometimes it just gets confused and goes off on a different track, but it's always trying to heal us. I mean, even Kim being kind of sick right now, it's trying to heal you. It is doing its best to. And so it's wider than what we think. And sometimes we get off the perfect path. And that's okay. Sometimes it's not the perfect path if, oh no, now I have a cough and I'm not feeling well for this week. Oh my God, now I'm off the path. Now I'm totally going sideways. And no, the path is just wider. You're just now going to go a little bit slower and you're not on the fast track. You're not sprinting, you're not running, but you still are in the lane. And so really allowing ladies to know that they can keep swerving within it. Sometimes they're going to be crushing it, moving forward, and other times they're going to feel like it's harder and not want to keep going or making that changes or reach for something they don't want to or it's not on the list, when knowing that it's okay and we're still with them throughout this journey and that they can get back on it when they're ready to, and it's always trying to help them, is what we're trying to work with ladies to understand. But it's a hard one to fully grasp. And it's easier said than done. And so we're trying to work with our ladies to help them feel that way and know that we're not mad at them, because then they think that, oh no, I just made this plan. Now you're probably mad at me. It's like, we're not mad at you. We're really not mad at you. We still are here to support you in the same way that your body's here to support you. So I understand you had, some people had different situations of a death in the family. And so, it's like, oh no, I'm so off my track and so off my plan. And it's like, you're not off your plan. You're still on your plan. Your body's still caring for you. Your hormones are still happening. And we are still here for you, and we can adjust for what's appropriate for you right now. And then when you are in a different state, we can adjust for you when you're there too. So
Yeah, that idea, like shattering that belief that there is like the perfect way, or like this very narrow line that we take to get from A to B. It doesn't work like that. Like all kinds of things happen, and all kinds of like we're all kinds of people, right? And that's, I often hear, there's this TikTok thing. I don't know if you've heard about it, but like there's this whole platform that just gives you all kinds of unsolicited information in the world. I can't understand it. But it's like there's all of these things that are constantly bombarding me about the right, and I have air quotes, right? The right way to do things, right? The right way to transition, the right way to, right, go from A to B. And everybody's kind of trying to sell me their right way. And I don't know if it's my age or my experience or like the change I'm going through, but I'm like, you can't tell me what to do. Like how do you know? How do people know? And so like really, Lizzy, what I'm hearing you say is like you're kind of shattering this, like there isn't one way. And like through femtech and through like the tracking of like what's actually happening, it's like, ooh, now I'm getting the information about what my body needs when it needs it. And I start to understand through actually seeing the cycles and understanding the biology and the chemistry that goes on in our bodies. Now we actually that information is, to me, is super empowering, because now I'm in choice. And now I can actually say to, well, I don't say because I don't respond to TikTok videos, but I do talk out loud to them. And I'm like, right. And I'm like, no, like your way isn't the way. Right. And it's like, and yet it feels like a heavy lift sometimes for me to like be figuring all of this out on my own. But the more information I get about my body, the more I start to understand, the more curious I am. I start to like really do feel more in choice, and I actually get to say no, right, to what is kind of being pitched to me in this world of finding the way, right? Like there's a single way. That's such bull crap. Yes, I said bull crap.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Massive bullshit. That we are not cookies. I say this all the time. We are not cookies. Don't treat us like cookie. Like, don't use cookie cutters on us. We are not cookies.
yeah. I mean, and then that goes for all the fitness plans, all the nutrition plans. Everything's an absolute. And the only absolute is what resonates with you. Like that's is what fits for you at that moment in time is then the best option for you. And so if you can have more resources, then you can make your choice. But saying it's one way or the highway is not gonna, is just unfortunate of where we've come to.
Yeah, and it's disempowering, right? And we see it in all different aspects of our lives, whether it's work, whether it's nutrition, whether it's fitness, whether it's even just our bodies, let alone like body type, body shape. Going to a store and being told, this is what you're going to wear because this is the shape of your body. Well, what if that's not what I want to wear?
Mm-hmm.
Where are my options? Right? So, not disempowering other humans means that we have to allow other humans their own choice. And that can be really scary, right? Because that kind of feels a little bit like, well, wait, if you have choice, do I still have choice? Yeah, yes. That's how it works, friends.
You actually always have the choice. You know, if I want to jump up and scream and run out of the room, I have the choice to do that right now, you know, like, but I'm going to choose and want to engage in our conversation. You know, like we always have the choice. And this is where we always have the choice, but just taking, like breaking down everything just with fitness alone. Someone in a fitness class, objectively, it is a request. What the instructor says is a request to do, and you can choose to do it or not, and what resonates with you or not. But how many times might someone be in a high plank, but their wrist is recovering from an injury and they don't do it, but they're like, I can just do it, I'll breathe through it. When it's like, all you have to do is just adjust to a forearm plank and you'll be fine. The end goal is your health for going to a fitness class. That's the end goal. But the instructor just doesn't know you well enough to know to give everyone a personalization. So they're doing their best. They're there because they support your health. So they're doing great things, but you also need to be able to know how to stand up for yourself too. And, you know, if you're at a phase and they're saying sprint, 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 go, 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 and that is, you know, I had an instructors say all the time, they actually say, you will never regret pushing yourself as hard as you can right now. And I really remember an experience. I was 24 at the time. And I then pushed. I pushed really hard also from my background as a dancer. And I feel like a lot of athletes have this too. If we're asked to do something, we will do it. We don't know where we find that strength from or find that energy, but we deliver and we can. And it's like, I'm not ready for this. And it's like, time. Okay, I'm ready. And so people do that back in workout classes then. And so she's asking me to deliver. And I'm like, let's go, I'll do this. And the rest of the day was horrible. Absolutely horrible. I was so exhausted. I then couldn't show up to the things I needed to do later that day. I think I was snippy with my sister. I was like, I actually do regret having done that because that was not what my body was telling me it wanted and what it needed. But in terms of females standing up for themselves, like, this is a workout room that's no windows, no one's here. The person instructing is actually a lovely human who just wants me to be healthy. And I still can't feel empowered to tell the teacher before time, saying like, today's just a rough day, I'm here. But you know, like, I can't even vouch for myself in these ways in such a confined space. Then my fear is, where can women show up then at other times when we really need to? And so it's like going back to the building blocks of, but I vouched for myself in that class. I vouched for my body's needs. I understood my body's needs and I was able to take action. I literally took action. It was from forearm plank or from a high plank to a forearm plank, but I actually took action and I did something. And recognizing that, I feel like, is huge. And if we can recognize that of how we stood up for ourselves, then how many more ways we can stand up for ourselves for whatever that means in her life.
Oh my gosh. I actually don't do group classes for that exact reason. So for somebody who is what's considered a larger body, there is the way that people will say, oh, you can modify and do it this way. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't work for my body type. So even your modification, and it's not that I have to necessarily not do the exercise. It's going to look different in my body. What is the end result you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have found the best way for me is to get individual guidance from people and then adapt that to workouts here in my own home. So I do a lot on my treadmill. And I know from working with a running coach, when I'm on my treadmill and the treadmill instructor is saying, you know, we're going to be going at 5 miles an hour, I'm like, fantastic. For me, that's 4. Because what you're wanting at that 5, I do at 4 because of who I am and what my body structure is.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm not still getting an effective workout. It doesn't mean that I'm not healthy. It doesn't mean, but it's all the same thing because it comes to that place of judgment. I never felt safe in a yoga room. I love yoga, and I never felt safe in a yoga room because very often the instructors are not set up in a way to actually give that personalized, individualized guidance. And the body mechanics are so nuanced that there are absolutely ways to do that. But again, it's speaking up for ourselves. And I never felt in that environment because I'm not an athlete. Never have. I was theater girl, art girl, all of that. Healthy, but and fit, but never felt comfortable in a athletic or exercise setting. And so then having to speak up for myself was really, really scary. And how did that translate into the boardroom and other places? I was more comfortable in those other places than I was when it dealt with my body. But I definitely felt it in both places, that how hard it is.
Yeah. And
to
yoga,
speak into that.
And yoga, out of all places, is the one for union and of
I
acceptance.
know. Well,
you
it's
know?
getting.
But I totally know what you mean.
Yeah. In some places it's getting better, and in some places it's getting worse. And I think there's that place of awareness that's acceptance again, right? Yeah. Is who am I? What am I willing to spend my energy on? Now, I still want to work out. I still want to run. I still want to do yoga. I still want to lift weights, but I don't want to do it in a place where I'm expending energy on protecting myself from feeling judged or feeling not safe. So I will do it in a way that allows me to feel safe. And I think that in and of itself is a way that we also can advocate for ourselves.
Yeah.
But we have to know it first.
Mm-hmm. And for that safety, so much creativity comes when we're in a safe space. So much compassion comes when we're in a safe space. So just like the more we can put ourselves in that safe space, the more beautiful things are going to happen. And so recognizing that is obviously key. And part of then you guys have been hearing about like the consumer side for what we're doing with the app, and then the next stages are also going to be making a certificate program for the fitness instructors, because I feel like if certain yoga instructors hear what you just said, Kim, they're going to be like, I would never do that, my class would never be that, that's not what I do. But if you could go to an instructor that knows you're allowed to say certain things to them, and they're going to get it. You can go and say, I'm in my luteal phase. And they're like, okay. Instead of like, I don't know what that is. What do you mean? So how do I treat you now? But that they have those certain values to be able to know that you can go to them and have that an intelligent conversation with them. And even in short language, so it can be quick. Just instead of like having to do it is something that's also a goal of ours, to help shift that fitness aspect too.
I mean, that's huge, because having that and that shortcut also, right? It's understood language.
Mm-hmm.
It's
which
not,
should be understood language anyways. Like
right, particularly when we're talking about women talking to other women about our bodies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And something with the wellness world I know it has great intentions, but there's also a lot of happiness band-aids that I call it, where they just kind of put on happy, and it's like, but you're not recognizing where I'm at. I'm not necessarily there. And so part of accepting and knowing where you are in your body is also accepting where you're at emotionally too. And so we've also created an entire anger workout. We'll do more emotions too, but we started with anger since the women have such a unique relationship with anger, and but of like, let's show up angry. You're angry. We catered it specifically to the luteal phase and match it because it can be the time that you're most irritable, but someone else could do it whenever they feel like they need to. And to embrace that anger and then like punch through it and just to get it out and to know that it's valid and it's accepted to release it and to move your body and not to feel stuck. Oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. So out it goes. And now I just shut it down and pretend it doesn't exist. And I want to be who I am when I'm ovulating, because at that time I am social and fun and nice and considerate and great at communicating, and that's who I am. This other irritable, frustrated version then isn't me, and it's like, nah, they're all you. Welcome. Enjoy it. Let's move it. Let's use it.
Man, I loved ovulating Kim. I really did. Jesus, she was on fire.
Pretty much.
I was like, can we do these days more in the month, please?
I know.
Yeah, now I'm just on fire, period.
No shit. It's like, God.
But it's this, and we've talked about it before here on the podcast too, is this understanding of like, with information, with understanding the totality of who we are, right? That we are all of those things, that we have all of those emotions, that we do all of those things, but actually being able to see it, to say like, oh yeah, like, hey, like, yeah, I do those things at this time of the month. Like, ooh, that's kind of cool to know that when I am in a space that doesn't feel so great, I know that other space is coming. That I'm not stuck here in this, right?
Exactly. I mean, same with the seasons for the temperature, the weather, like we're not in winter forever. Yes, it's a season, and yes, it happens, but we know.
Okay, but we're in Canada, so it really
you're in Canada. Yeah, or you can choose to do something forever. But generally it doesn't last forever, and there are, I'm sure, nuances, even if different, for it, but with it. But then if you're only in that phase for a while, then you can still actually learn to appreciate what that is. And you can learn to appreciate that winter time for that coziness, for that coffee mug that you always use during that time. And then you also appreciate the other time where you're like, loved ovulating me. Wow, But then also know that at the other time you'll get something else special. And then another time, something else special.
Yeah. Yeah. This conversation has been so needed to kind of start a deeper conversation, I think, around not just what it means to be empowered, but what does it mean to be empowered in my body? And how do I go about getting the information I need so that I can start consciously and intentionally making choices that align for myself, right? And not be influenced by those external places, whatever that is, be it TikTok, be it your fitness instructor, like whatever that is. And let's not shy away from these things, but let's start to really look at what they're saying, and then be in choice to say, thanks, not for me. Right. I know a little bit more about my body. I know about me. And I get to say thanks, but no, as opposed to bumping around in the dark, right? And not having that information, not having that ability to even feel like I can make that choice. It all comes down to me. It all comes down to data. Right. And that is power, right? Information is power. And so, yeah, that's what I loved about this conversation here today was really just like diving into that. So yeah, absolutely.
Louise, as you were sharing all that back, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly why I designed the tool that I designed. So Lizzy, I have a tool it's the StrengthScape self-mastery profile. And this self-mastery profile takes from the psychological, the emotional, the physical, all of this kind of puts it into a report that explains who you are to you, so that you can look at it much like with your app and look at it and say, oh, this is why I'm behaving this way. That's that fear that always keeps showing back up. That's that saboteur that always keeps coming in. And I understand it. I get why it's there. I don't have to always operate in that same way, or I can just accept that's who I'm going to be in that moment. And how do I want to work with it from there? But it's again giving us choice. And so I love that. It was so funny though, Louise, listening to you. I'm like, oh my God, you're describing my tool. But you're also describing Lizzy's tool. And you're describing so many amazing tools that are out there that we have created to give people back, particularly women, back that space of true empowerment, of being able to come back to ourselves, to make aligned choices for ourselves, to use our voices for ourselves and for the good of the collective. So I loved hearing your synopsis of our conversation today, because I think that got me really lit up. I know a lot of my clients are in the femtech space as well, doing amazing work. And so, Lizzy, I'm super excited about what you're doing as well. I'd love to know, what are your kind of final thoughts? What would you like to make sure that our listeners are walking away with today from this conversation?
Yeah, I feel like you both summarized it all so well. And also to mention what you have both said was like the thank you, know, and recognizing ourselves, but with that clarity and without that shame. And because with that acceptance of knowing made it be a lot more thank you, no, period. And now I'm moving on with my life. And yes, that there's so many tools coming out there for this, but we have to keep hearing it in multiple ways and keep reinforcing it in multiple ways and enforcing it in our work, reinforcing it in our movement, reinforcing it in how we approach our relationships and finding it in more ways. So I also love that there are so many more tools and people that align with this mission and then are able to create their own offering around it that all still has that same mission. And yeah, I'm hopeful for ladies to keep finding these things and know that it's out there and know that there's support for it. And we're all working for it. We're trying for it. We really are.
Hell yeah, we are.
Yeah.
So Lizzy, we will include all of your contact information in the show notes. What would you like people to where would you like people to connect with you? Where are you out there in the world most?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's SYNC, SYNC, then the letter N. And so you can find us at SYNC app. And so those are our Instagram and Twitter handles, as well as started a podcast called Let That Sink In. So that's where you can find what we have going on for all the ladies, and also want to offer for your listeners too a complimentary call with our expert in women's health to have them have their own understanding of their bodies to help get them on track with their cycle. So if for your listeners, you can go ahead and reach out and say that you are a listener of this episode. We're happy to support you because we really want ladies to be supported. So
That's awesome. Thanks.
That's fantastic. Just a quick question for those that I know that are coming from my camp of the world. On the website, if they go or onto the app or onto the website to find out more about it, is there information on privacy? Because we are dealing with our cycles and how that might be used by people.
Absolutely. Security is extremely important to us, and no one will ever have this information, and then the user at any time can request to delete it as well if they don't want any more information. So security is definitely one of the main topics I have throughout the day, often, to make sure it's of utmost importance. So thank you for bringing
I had seen it out there.
up.
I just wanted to make sure that you could speak into that as well.
Yes, 100%.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Lizzy, for being part of our conversation today. It has been a pure joy to meet you and to talk a little bit more about this really, really important topic. Oh, our bodies.
Oh, just that. Yeah. Thanks, Lizzy. Thanks, listener. We'll see you soon.
Thank you both.
Bye, everyone.
And that's all for this week's episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. We hope today's episode has sparked something within you. Remember, we're all on this journey together. If something did resonate with you today, why not share it with a friend who might need to hear it too? You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. Your feedback not only helps others find the show, but also helps us understand what's most valuable to you. Until next time, be kind to yourself, stay curious, and remember, we're walking right alongside you. Thanks for being part of our community.